Hello, good morning. Hello, and welcome to another enlightening episode of Up You with Ezinne. Yes, let me come up front so that you can see all of me very well. Haha. This is your weekly dose of empowering conversations, inspiring stories, and practical tools to help you live your best life ever. And I'm your host, Ezinne Ekanem, and I'm thrilled to have you join me today. Like you all know, we're coming to the end of January 2025. So yes, this is 2025. And the theme for us at Up You with Ezinne is Elevate. Last week, we started exploring setting SMART goals. We've looked at different things. Today, we are diving into a challenge we all face at some point in our lives: procrastination. Yes. So our topic is overcoming procrastination, turning motivation into action. So today we're just going to talk about how you can overcome procrastination and how you can be motivated to begin to take consistent actions in your life. Why is it that we know what to do, but we sometimes just don't do it? If you've been putting off tasks, delaying decisions, or waiting for the perfect moment, this episode is for you. So please bring in your friends. Let's unpack the science of procrastination, uncover the emotional triggers behind it, and most importantly, discover how to move from motivation to action. Grab your notepads, grab your cup of coffee, grab your bottle of water, but please come in here so that we can dive into this episode. Okay? Good morning, Adebayo. Janet, it's good to see you. Please dive in, come in, let's go in. Here is something to think about as we begin today's conversation. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. We all want to be great, but then we procrastinate at starting. So here is me telling you, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Procrastination often keeps us from starting, and starting is where transformation begins. If you don't start, there will be no transformation and you can't be great. But before we dive in deeper, take a moment to like and share the live streams link, share it. Let's spread the word and bring in more people into this powerful conversation. Remember, we're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us on all our platforms and get to watch our past episodes and keep yourself updated either through our YouTube channel or our podcast channel. So settle in, share, like, bring in your friends, bring in your community. Procrastination is something that steals from every single one of us. So let's deal with it today. But before we go in any further, here is a quick activity to kick things off. This year I said I was going to be challenging us and giving us activities and all of that to do. So now, before we go further, write down one task you have been putting off and why you have been delaying it. By the end of today, I promise you, Lebari will tell us something, will charge us, give us something that will make us go past that point of not taking on that task. So please write down that one task that you really want to do, which you've not been able to do. Put it down, ask questions around it as we go, and then trust me, you will find what you're looking for. So please, again, I say like, share, and then settle down because we are about to bring up our guest today. So stay with me while I pull her in. Okay.
Hello,
Good morning.
good
We have
morning.
suddenly grown dark. What happened to our lights? Let's see.
Can you see me?
I can see you, yes. Good, we're back on. Great. So everyone, Our guest today is someone who knows how to help people move past their blocks and step into action. Her name is Lebari Ukpong. She's a certified emotional intelligence expert and life coach, passionate about empowering individuals to live, thrive, and soar. As managing director of Inside Edge Limited, she's guided over 2,000 students and families through education consultancy, scholarship management, and international student placement. Lebari's expertise extends to training educators on integrating social and emotional learning into classrooms, fostering resilience and deeper connection. With over 20 years of experience in business and education, Lebari blends her legal background, passion for lifelong learning, and brain-based coaching to inspire and equip her clients for success. Dear everyone, world over, please join me in welcoming the phenomenal Lebari Ukpong to the show this morning. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for that introduction.
You mean the abridged version? Because if I
Yeah,
started reading the main thing, we would not
you
even have
did a
a
great
show.
job. You did a great job. You picked. You captured what was important, really.
Thank you. But please, everyone, you need to know who is talking to us today. So I urge you, I encourage you to go to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and read her full bio so you can understand. As an aside, for me, first of all, Lebari, I'm interested in something I saw in your profile. It says you have passion for lifelong learning and brain-based coaching. What is brain-based coaching? I'm so interested in that.
Okay. So, coaching really is not
Mhm.
telling people what to do, but helping them
Mm.
get from where they are now to where they need to be. So,
Yeah.
coaching is a lot of conversations,
Mhm.
but brain based looks beyond those conversations to things that are stored in your brain.
Oh, wow.
Because that's where you get either the block. We have the left side and the right side of the brain, the logical
Mhm.
side and the emotional side.
Emotional side. Yeah.
And so, even in procrastination, we're getting into the topic now.
Mhm.
There are things that make you procrastinate. So, it's easy to put down all the action points, feel motivated, and all that. But there's a block somewhere in your brain. The brain
Mhm.
is there to keep you safe. But in that process of keeping you safe, it can also hinder you. So we need to get in there, unlock what it is, and help you propel forward. That's why I am not just a life coach, but an integrative life coach. Because I
Hmm.
do the coaching, I do the therapy, I do the testing. We use test materials that are brain based to
Mhm.
test your skills and to
Mhm.
your EQ competencies and to test what else could be blocking you. Then I do things like emotional freedom technique, where we're
Mhm.
going back into where that blockage is. And there's
Mhm.
something also called matrix reimprinting, where we
Mhm.
bring you out of that matrix that you're stuck in into
Mhm.
what the reality of today needs
Eh,
to be.
wow.
So that's
I'm
putting
glad
it
I
very.
I'm glad I asked. I knew there was something there because I'd never seen anybody say brain based, and I've been studying the brain a lot lately, so I knew there was something there. There are levels to these coaches, though. We need to now start saying level one coach, level two coach, and all of that. Okay, so let's stay on track right now. Thank you for educating me. Could you please tell us very quickly what exactly is procrastination and why do so many of us struggle with it?
Uh, Procrastination is simply delaying what you want to do,
Mm-hmm,
despite knowing the effects of it and how it can affect you. So it's
mm-hmm,
basically postponing tasks, and it's rooted in internal struggle between
mm-hmm,
what is comfortable now and
mm-hmm,
avoiding the long term benefits of action. And it's really due to psychological and emotional factors.
Mm.
Things like fear, perfectionism, all that comes in. But it's due to emotional and psychological factors, which is why I talk about the brain. We need to get behind that, behind what we see, to get to the root cause of it. So simply put, procrastination is just delaying or postponing tasks that we know we need to do.
It's so simple, eh? It sounds so simple, right? Delaying task that you know you want to do, it sounds very simple. But then again, it's something about the way our brains are wired that makes us have that delay, right? Ah,
Mhm.
growing up, I know a lot about the mind. Let me ask you a question I've always wanted to ask. Is the mind the same thing as the brain?
To me, no.
Thank you.
The mind is what you tell yourself.
Mhm.
The brain is harbors all your experiences. And yes, sometimes there are traumatic experiences there, but you then choose what you pick out from the brain. That's your mind telling you to go there. Because that same mind can still tell you, no, let's reframe that experience because it will go there. It's not going to help us, it won't serve us at this moment. So let's shelve that. So you have a choice. Your mind can be telling you something, but you have a choice.
Thank you very much. So, I growing up, I heard a lot about the mind. You have to have a strong mind. You have to train your mind. You have to da 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 da. But nobody said anything about the brain. And suddenly the brain is the one now racking all the havoc that is racking. And then we find that it's from our brain that we get these impulses and stimuluses that make us to procrastinate on things. So that's why I'm particularly interested in what you do, because you help us unlock these things and reformat them. Amazing stuff. Can you imagine if you finish teaching us today and all of us go and pick up our dead dreams and begin to run with it? It would have been so amazing.
That would just be awesome. Awesome. But it's something we have to be conscious of every day because procrastination can show up in certain tasks and not show up in
The
others,
second one,
right?
yes.
Because it depends on what you're doing. For example, I'm also a farmer and I'm on my farm now. There's no procrastination on a farm. You can't
Mm-hmm,
procrastinate on when you feed the animals or when you respond to any situation. It has to be done.
mm-hmm.
But sometimes work comes up and you don't do it. Why? So, understanding why you're not doing what you need to do is very key to be able to overcome the procrastination. Because there's just so much you can do. I mean, everybody can Google procrastination and what you need to do, set smart goals, understand your why, break down tasks. We can all do that. We can all read up on that, but still, that doesn't propel you to move and do what you need to do. You need to really understand why and how you procrastinate because with everyone is different. And it comes from your own mindset. It comes from the habits and behaviors you've developed over time, sometimes even from childhood, right? I'll give you an example. I have a client, a woman, and there were issues in her marriage. And the issues came out of, no, not big issues, but her husband was always complaining that she doesn't care about him, she doesn't do what concerns him, and all that. And when we did in one of our sessions a procrastination test, we found out that her problem was she was coercion sensitive or coercion aversive, right? She doesn't like being told what to do in an authoritative way. And where did that come from? It came from her not liking the way her father spoke to her mom or how the father spoke to them. It was like a military zone in her house. So when her husband, with all
Husband, with
his good
all
intentions, says things in a particular way, she doesn't do it, she procrastinates. So it was important to see where the root cause of that behavior and then deal with it. So we have to unearth it. Sometimes it's people have developed habits of putting the cart before the horse. They basically don't plan for success. They just think, oh, I can do this, and they go ahead and just start doing it without having a plan. Sometimes people procrastinate because they run away from things they can't master, right? Once they try something and they look at it as being too difficult, they shy away from it. And that comes from fear of failure and a lack of self confidence. Self confidence is a seed that is sown mainly in childhood, and it grows or it depletes. And as somebody becomes an adult, once they become aware of it, they can choose to continue on that pattern of lack of self-confidence, or they can choose to grow it. But the important thing is identifying it. For some people, procrastination comes from a lack of self-reward and a celebration system where they don't see any self-reward in it. Then they start procrastinating. I recognized myself, especially in this lack of self-reward. So many years ago, like 18 years ago or so, I was working in a diplomatic mission, and I rose to the position of the highest, one of the highest Nigerian staff there. So there was nothing else to look forward to except salary increase. The job wasn't increasing. The standard or quality of the job or the responsibility wasn't increasing. There was nothing challenging there. Guess what? My friend and colleague and I, we started procrastinating. We started doing silly things like keeping tasks to the last minute to see who can produce a good report in the shortest possible time.
Possible time.
What I didn't realize at that time was I was building the habit of procrastination. And because there was no reward for doing the work, I needed something to challenge me. I stopped celebrating my successes, even within that system. And that put me into a turmoil of, and just going round and round with celebration, with procrastination, sorry. And it started showing up in other aspects of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave that. Then there are some people who are, let's just call it what it is. They're plain lazy. They don't want to take responsibility. You know what the issues are. Sometimes they've even identified the root cause of it, but they don't want to take responsibility. And there are those who procrastinate just because they are passive aggressive. Things are going on, but instead of addressing the conflict so that they can get past that and do what they need to do, they harbor it, um, refuse to address it, and then they're just being aggressive quietly by not doing what they need to do. You see that a lot in the corporate world. Then some people are unassertive. They take on more than they should. And in the process, they get overwhelmed. They don't know how to draw boundaries. So things pile up. And then before you know it, they keep putting everything away. They're seeking peace in that their storm. And all that comes from being unassertive and not being able to set boundaries. Then there are people who just lack, same with the lazy people. They lack desire or drive to succeed. Some people are just so calm and content with let's just stay here. They don't want to do too much. And with all this, it's again going back to the brain. And the first step is a decision, is awareness that this is what I am doing and I do not want to do it anymore. I want to move from point A to point Z, or to point M, or wherever point you want to go to. So that first part is awareness. Once you have that awareness, then you can seek help if you can't deal with it by yourself. And this is where we now dig deep. beyond the coaching conversations to look at what's going on in your brain. What's the emotional part of your brain telling you? You know, that emotional part that, oh, when you have so much work to do, it will just make you freeze, or it will make you fight, or it will make you flee, you know, rather than listening to you. And it, once that emotional part takes over, it shuts down the logical part. It diminishes its voice. That logical part that is telling you there's a deadline, or if you achieve this goal, this is what you would get. So there are exercises and things we do that can help people to manage this procrastination and move forward with their lives or achieve their goals. Thank you.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Honestly, when I was researching this topic, I found out that procrastination is actually a science. And I said, science, Bawo. But you have just come back and you've buttressed it over and over again, and it still boils down to what you said, really, self-awareness. We need to start asking ourselves, why do we like putting things off? Why do we keep things for the very last moment? What is scaring us? Is it a big bite? Is it fear of failing? Is it a lack of confidence? What exactly? Fear of clarity? Is it perfectionism? Now, you have given us bites to go and start using as a metrics to use to now ask ourselves, which one is the one that is militating against me and holding me down here in procrastination? I love this. Very practical, very straight to the point. I am very certain that every woman on this stream and some men on the stream as well, I can see men, will be taking away points to go and use and ask themselves in their own evaluations of their lives. Now, I got thrown out along the line by my network. So I don't know if you touched on what I'm going to. If you've touched on it, just tell me you have, and I'll just move on. See, procrastination, despite all our best intentions, for some of us who are a bit self-aware, who do evaluation, and who understand why we need to do what we need to do, still procrastination steals in on us sometimes, in very subtle ways that we may not even be able to pick it. Can you share some example of how procrastination shows up without us realizing it?
Thank you. I haven't addressed that. And that's a very good question because a lot of times we're not aware. You know, when you
Mm-hmm,
create a habit, it becomes your behavior. And then
mm-hmm,
it just becomes normal to you. Like, you know, who really thinks about when they're picking their food and putting into their mouth? Nobody thinks
mm-hmm,
about that. It just
mm-hmm.
becomes a habit.
Automatic, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes automatic. So it's not always obvious. So, one would be excessive planning without taking action.
Mm-hmm,
There are people who have all the notebooks and all the to-do lists and everything. So they make all the plans, but no action.
hmm,
And you know yourself, you know. Then another big one is prioritizing low impact task over the high impact one.
impact ones,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so we've been told, you know, break down your task so that into small bites so that it's easy for you to pick one and do so you move up. So people will break down their task and choose the low impact one against the high impact one. Now there's this, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, yeah.
20% of the work we do impacts 80% of our results. So instead of looking at that core 20%, they'll be looking at the 80% that is not impactful because they believe that motion is action.
Mm.
Motion is not action, right? I'm sure everybody here knows James Clear. He wrote the book Atomic Habit. I have it somewhere here in my
Yeah,
bag.
yeah. I talked about
And
it beginning of this year. I told everybody to go read it every 90 days this year.
yeah, great. So motion makes you feel like you're getting things done, but really, You're just preparing to get something done. You're really not moving. Motion is not action. Another thing people do is information overload. They attend all the courses, all the information sessions. They will attend this procrastination session. They will not feel ready. They will go to another procrastination session, take a course, information. And all that goes into the motion. They're doing things. Action is key. For years, I used to have a program, but this was relating to education, that the title was Knowledge is Power. I've come to realize that knowledge is not power.
Applied knowledge.
Knowledge is potential power. Because knowledge without action is just what it is, knowledge standing on its own without any value, right? So action is power. So some people go about getting all the information and all that. I can tell you, I have been there. Did you see my post on this program? I said, Procrastinators Anonymous, gather here. Your former president wants to address you. I have experienced a lot of this, right? Until I got into, this work, and I had to reflect and see the different stages of procrastination that I have been through. So I've experienced all of this. Then, of course, we have the things of constantly checking emails and social media. And we tell ourselves that, we're gaining information. We have to keep in touch with what is going on.
We're actually burning our time.
Yes.
We're wasting time.
Taking time.
Last I checked, Dangote is not on that thing. Dangote is not on social media. Last I checked.
Dangote still they find money. So who are we?
Do you understand?
And he's doing well. Then anxiety. When we get anxious from time to time, it's a sign of procrastination affecting us. Or when you feel overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a lot from procrastination, because if you look at it, everything just piles up. Everything just piles up. Things you should have done day before yesterday, you've planned them for the day after tomorrow, and things that you should have done last week, they're all showing up now. So all that piles up. So basically, when you find yourself planning excessively, being busy, doing low impact tasks, constantly checking your emails or social media, you are procrastinating. There's nothing wrong with checking social media or emails, but when you are always, after every 20 minutes, you go and check, you're procrastinating. Because those things should have specific times for doing
time
them.
allotted to them, yeah.
So
when you know that, thank you so much. I needed to ask you that because sometimes we just think that procrastination is all about, I want to build a house, and then you put off building a house. We think procrastination is only when we're doing it towards big things. We can also procrastinate towards little things, I mean, even as little as when you take your bath and when you have your breakfast, you could keep pushing it forward. And as you're pushing it forward, something else is suffering. For every procrastination, something else is suffering. But then again, there's a school of thought that says that sometimes procrastination can be a good thing. Can you ever serve any positive purpose? Just holding back from doing something you know you ought to do.
Thank you. Based on my development, I'm learning not to see things as good or bad. I'm learning not to judge.
We listen, we don't judge. We see, we don't judge. Yeah.
I'm learning to see it as is. It just is. So is it good or is it bad? Like in emotional intelligence, we'll tell you that no emotion is bad. No emotion is negative. Like anger, sadness, they are not negative. It's how you use them.
Apply them.
Yes. and how they show up in your life, that's what determines is that those are applications that are negative or positive. So same thing with procrastination. It just so sometimes when you, and this is where reflection comes in for everybody, even before you seek external help. If you have not worked on yourself, the external help may not work, because first of all, you have to be aware and procrastinating, and then ask yourself, why am I procrastinating?
Yeah.
So if procrastination is done mindfully, like I'm procrastinating on this thing, why? Maybe because I need a bit more clarity on it. I'm not sure whether this is the right route to take. Okay, let me keep it aside for a minute, and as we say these days, chew on it, or think about it. So if done mindfully, yes, it can be a good thing, because when you do it mindfully, it can open up your creativity. It can help you gain clarity. It can give you a different perspective, because you're stepping back now from all the questions and things you need to do on that situation. You're stepping back and looking at it a bit more objectively. So there's an emotional intelligence competence called consequential thinking. So this is where it comes in, where you apply that consequential thinking. So you step back and think, what are the long and short-term benefits of this decision or this action? What do I want? How does it apply here? Who else is involved in this? How can I achieve what I want to achieve with the resources I have? So this is where also setting those SMART goals come in. So if you're procrastinating, just take a moment, or especially on a particular project or something, and ask yourself, why? What's showing up? Because everything doesn't have to be done now. There's a season. The Bible says to everything there's a season and a time and a purpose. So maybe that's not the season or the time for that thing. So you just have to be mindful. Once you're mindful and you put it aside, that's procrastination doing good.
Fantastic. I needed you to.
The key to it, the important thing about it, is knowing when your delay is being helpful or is being harmful.
Good. Thank you very much. I wanted you to really harp on this, because when we talk procrastination, it doesn't mean that anything that just pops up in your radar, you jump on it. So there are some times that you also need to carry whatever it is that has popped up on your radar and put it on the warmer and begin to interrogate it and ask yourself, should I take on this now? Do I have the capacity for this now? Can I do justice to this now? That kind of procrastination is intentional procrastination, measured procrastination, so that when you now do get to it, you do justice to the task at hand. Thank you very much. You have told us so much about procrastination. I have even learned very new things about procrastination. I recently learned that our definitions in life is what really, sometimes also helps us, makes us take some decisions that we take, the way we define some things. And, most times we actually think we know definitions until we start to look at them. So you have actually made me, in particular, I will go back and take another look at procrastination and then see how I can be, navigating around it. But now I want to take you away from procrastination per se and take you to motivation, because that's another thing we're looking at today. Okay? It's often touted that motivation is a solution to procrastination, as if people who procrastinate are really not motivated in life. But I don't know if that is true or not. But do tell us, what role does motivation play in actually getting us started and getting us to, be in the action zone?
Thank you. Sometimes I see motivation as a sugar rush.
like my Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see motivation as a sugar rush. You get that
Mm-hmm.
motivation and you're on a high. Like a lot of times you go to these motivational talks and things and you're on a high. You decide I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do this. And it happens a lot, even in religious settings when the pastor is, you're so motivated, you're so
Oh my
charged.
goodness.
I'm going to do this, never again. I'm free. The bonds are broken. And then you get home and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So motivation and procrastination, they're linked. Motivation can spark action. That's where it starts, and I believe it ends. Motivation needs to be sustained. If you don't sustain it, then that's the end of it. And how do you sustain motivation? Is consistency and discipline. It's the habit you create that makes you sustain the motivation. If not, motivation just stands on its own and it will get you to start. So, habits, your daily habits that turn into your behaviors, that turn into finally your destiny, is what is important to bridge that gap, right? To keep you going. So to keep that motivation going, because you can start and then you get stuck. You start feeling overwhelmed. You had this big dream from that motivational speak or
Mm-hmm.
what you heard in church, and then you go and start. Then you get stuck. Why? Because you didn't really make a plan. Imagine you go to some event and they tell you, if you like food like me, somebody talks about a particular meal and I can just imagine and see it and I'm motivated. Oh, I'm going to eat that food. And it has to do with maybe spaghetti, for example. I know I have spaghetti at home. Would I just run home and bring out spaghetti, then start wondering, so what next now? The menu actually asked for 5 other ingredients. So I just ran home and started planning to cook without a plan. If you want to cook, you would drop a list of your ingredients and make sure you have them ready before you even start preparing them before you cook them. So think about it like that. You need to make a plan. So we talk about SMART goals. As much as possible, making those SMART goals. I'm sure we all know what that is. We know how the new year starts. We all have all those resolution goals and things. That's the motivation, the rush of it's a new year. God has given me a new year, so I must fulfill my purpose. And then it turns out to be like a broken record, and where there's a crack and it just stops. So first of all, make a plan. Then the most important part of it is why. Why are you doing this thing? Why are you doing this project? And what would it do for you? What would it do for your community? What would it do for your family? You ask why. We actually have a coaching tool that is just on why, just so that you gain clarity and connect to that why. It's that why that will keep you going. If you're carrying out a task that you know would really benefit your family and move them from point A to B, whether financially or psychologically or emotionally, you know, even when the obstacles come, it's the why that will keep you going. The why is the wind beneath your wings. Then do some practical things like actually breaking the whole project down into smaller, manageable tasks. So it's not focusing on the small things, but on the big things. What will create the biggest shift or help make an impact on the whole project? What are the tasks that will make an impact on the whole project? Then you break those tasks into manageable parts. If not, you will begin to feel overwhelmed. When you're not able to achieve one thing, you then begin to feel, all the negative thoughts or limiting beliefs you've had will start coming back at you. This is why you shouldn't be doing this. You're never good at this. You never achieve it. No. And then a very important thing is celebrating your small wins. When you celebrate, you gain momentum, and momentum keeps you going. So momentum, more than motivation, is important. And again, where do you get your strength or inspiration from? Could it be your faith? Could it be somebody you call and the person is able, when you tell the person what you're feeling and the person is able to motivate you? Or could it be, your faith? Or could it be in certain songs? You have to keep motivating yourself. It's not something that happens once. You need the wheels to sustain it. Thank you.
So therefore, for you, for you to stay motivated after you've had the rush, you have to have the discipline of staying the course. Otherwise, you have to keep going back for the rush. And like Lebari has said, if the rush is in church, then you have to keep going to church to get your motivation. If the rush is someone who is holding your hand, then you have to keep going back there. If the rush is in a book, in a song, then you have to constantly have it on repeat. But the danger in that, I think, is that sometimes, if it's a song, for instance, you've heard it so much that you now think you know it, that it doesn't move you anymore. So
You're right.
it's best you do what Lebari is saying, which is what? Develop the capability and develop the discipline to ensure that if you put your hand on the plow, you will see it to the end. There was something she said, I miss it now. She said something more than motivation. What was that? You used another word.
Momentum.
Exactly. So momentum more than motivation. Can somebody put that in the stream? Yeah, so that people can query it when they come. So that once you get on the momentum, you put your hand there, it just keeps going, and then you get your motivation intermittently. This is interesting. This is very interesting because when you were talking, you said, okay, you want to say something?
No, you finish, please.
Okay. When you were talking, I said, like my Coke. Honestly, the imagery just hit home. You know how you hear things, you know things, but one day somebody says it in such a way, it just comes to you as an aha. My eyes popped. I don't know whether you heard the small sound that escaped from me. Anyway, because it was so clear. Because I know what I do. I'm feeling not full of energy. I'm sad. I'm guinea. I say, somebody give me a Coke there. And so once I take that Coke, it's like something just enters me and I say, where were we? And you just brought it out now. So that is what motivation does. So you go, you listen to a great speaker. You just come and say, man, I'm going to take the world. Hey, they're going to hear about me. I'm going to do ABC. I'm in fact. Hey, Jago. And then the first day you go, life. Something just goes wrong. I say, I beg you. Na fat, I no kill person. I beg you. I make Dangote day they cry. Me, I know not all of us must be rich. You just make that excuse to yourself, and then you go away. And that drops. So thank you. That imagery hit home.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
There's something one of the coaches I follow, I've actually attended his course. His course is Tony Robbins. When he's talking about productivity, it's like a circle, right? So there's motivation, then there's action, then there's momentum. So it goes round. It's not, it doesn't start from motivation. You can start from the action. When you see the results,
You'll
it
be
gives you
motivated.
more motivation. So the results give you momentum, and the momentum gives you motivation to even do more. It
More, yeah.
just keeps increasing the more you go through that circle. Don't sometimes, you're not motivated to do something, but you know you need to do it. And you decide, I'm going to take the action anyway. Once you
Regardless.
take that action and you gain momentum from it, you find out that it drives your motivation to keep going.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very, very interesting. And we need to know this. And of course, there are times that you're at peak performance and times that you're not at peak performance. The important thing is to keep your thumb on whatever it is and keep going. Thank you. Now, there are myths about motivation. You've tried to tell us about it. And you've also tried to tell us um, about the cycle, So, but you now, can you please tell us what are the biggest myths about motivation that keep people in the cycle of procrastination?
Yeah. So I practically answered that question. The
Yeah.
first one is you need motivation to start. That's the one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest myths.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need motivation to start.
Mm-hmm.
You need your why to start.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And once you start, you get motivated. Once you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't even see the result, but because you know your why. I I can use so many analogies from being on the farm here, right? You wake up one day and 50 birds are dead, but you have to keep going. Am I waiting for motivation? I can't.
You can't afford to even.
I can't even afford to because I already have investments I've put down, and 100 birds dying doesn't mean I have to stop because there are bigger investments like the building, like the staff that are depending on this job, like my customers who are waiting for eggs. That why keeps me going. So you don't, one myth is waiting for motivation to start. No, action precedes motivation. The second thing is motivation is constant. It's not. Your Coke gives you a fix for the moment. And
Yes.
then and then things happen. So motivation can fluctuate up and down. Different. You can hear something. You're doing a project, and then you hear, and you're so excited, and you hear somebody you were looking up to has failed on that project. It can kill you
Mm.
immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Or the person you think you're trying to impress with that project is not impressed. They talk down on you. It happens
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Even in
Mm-hmm.
homes, you're doing things and you think, oh, it's the best for the family. You're so motivated and all
And the
that.
family isn't interested.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you so many stories. I have 3 adult children. They'll just come, you like to stress yourself. What's all this? It's not that deep. Please keep it simple. Meanwhile, I've been all. What then happens to that motivation for that project? It's not
Mm-hmm.
constant. Things can
Mm-hmm.
affect it. But what keeps
Mm-hmm.
it going is the discipline to sustain the momentum during the low point. So it's the habits we form, it's what we tell ourselves during the low moments. So you need discipline more than motivation
Mm-hmm.
to
Thank you
achieve
very
it.
much. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't have put that any better. What I hear from you overall, loud and clear, is that clarity is very important in ensuring that you do not procrastinate. Because when you know why you do what you do, if you know why you are in the first place, why you love what you love, why you do what you do, why you want to go on the route you want to go on, if it's very clear to you, then it is difficult for anything to stop you from doing that because you have clarity. So your why is important. Women on the stream, why? Ask yourself. Prod, dig deep. Sometimes the layers we have put up, the mask we wear, the facades we built may not let us get to the answer very quickly. No matter how long it takes you, keep digging, keep asking yourself, why? When your why becomes clear, then you will show up to do what you need to do and ensure that you are not, focusing on low impact activities, that you're focusing on the high impact activities. I'm trying to make sure that those who are joining now will get a hang of the gist as we proceed. Lebari, this is a masterclass you're teaching us, and we're so grateful that you're doing it. Okay. Earlier on, you talked about breaking your task into smaller stuff, because a lot of us get overwhelmed with when something is very big. Start a farm. What farm? How? Because even me, I'm looking at you now. Farm? No way. How? But look at you. You're in your farmhouse. You have a farm. You wake up. 100 birds dead. I'll freak out. I'll just freak out. Where am I going to start from? What am I doing? 100.
Oh dear. Is it me? Uh, I'm in a meeting.
Okay, so how can breaking tasks into smaller chunks help us stay in action and not procrastinate?
Is that a question from somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't hear you for some time.
Yes,
So
I
I
know.
don't know. Okay,
So somebody is saying it's easy to listen to you and all of that, but big task don't me. I don't know where to begin, more like how do you eat an elephant kind of thingy. Yeah. So how can breaking tasks into smaller steps help fight procrastination?
There's a Chinese saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begin with
That's in one step.
the first step. One step. So when you see as you said, when you want to eat an elephant, how do you start? So you need to really sit down with yourself if you think you can do it, or seek help from a friend or a coach or somebody you think can help you, and break it down into little tasks. And if you don't break it down, you're going to feel overwhelmed. Definitely, because as you said, it's a large project. What is the first step you need to take? What is the second step you need to take? What is the third step you need to take? And as you take each step, it clarifies and gives you the right motivation and momentum to the next step to be able to achieve your goal. So I'm in Akwa Ibom at the moment. I'm having, for my education consultancy, we're having an education fair, and it's on STEM. It's the first fair we're having on STEM. And so I was speaking to the communications person, the person who is going to handle our marketing and communication. And he was just talking, we need to do this, that. We need to do that. I allowed him to speak for 30 minutes. I heard everything he was saying, and it was good. My questions were simple. what are the first 3 steps we need to take? He told me. And I said to him, what are the 3 steps? I opened my calendar. We have 3 weeks to go. What are the 3 steps we need to take? The most important 3 steps we need to take to achieve this by this date. He told me. I said, so what are the things we need to do for week 1? He told me. And I said, what are the things you think I need to do for this week? And he told me. And then we went back and forth and were able to come up with a plan. Because he had grand ideas of, we're doing this, I want to do this, and I want to do this. By the time we went through that, he was able to rationalize a lot of the activities he had planned, to see that some of them were not even useful. Some of them were not necessary. They were desirable, but not necessary, considering the cost and the impact that it would have on the overall project. So you cannot eat a toad by just swallowing everything. Oh, there's a book called Eat That Frog. Yeah, by Brian Tracy. And it talks a lot about procrastination and how you can overcome it and the steps you can take. So if there's one book, again, you should read this year, it should be Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. So you have to cut it into pieces, right? You don't take your whole food and pour it into your mouth. No, you take it in bits and pieces, and then you're able to get to the end. So you can never underestimate breaking down your activities, breaking down your goals into manageable tasks and actions. And this is why it's important to set SMART goals. If they are not specific, if your goal is very wishy-washy and not specific, it's difficult for you to comprehend it and break it down. And it has to be measurable. Because what will people see? What would you see to know that you've achieved that goal? What will people see to know that you've achieved that goal? What would it look like? Right? Then it has to be what you can actually do. And what a lot of, you can't set a goal that you have no control over. So it has to be something that is actionable by you, majority. Majority of the action has to be by you, and it has to be realistic and relevant to you. You can't set a goal that is realistically, a lot of things are out of your control. You can't set a goal on making your child do something when you're not going to be there with that child 24 hours. Then it has to be timely. There has to be a specific time to it. By the time you make one goal SMART, just put it in all this matrix, you're going to find out that it's easy for you to get out your steps. Thank you.
Interesting stuff. Interesting. However, please note, dear woman who asked the question, please note that when you're breaking down this thing, like the Lebari told us initially, when you're breaking down the task into smaller chunks, start breaking from the high impact ones so that you don't do the low impact ones and then get burnt out before you have to start, before you even get to the high impact one. So how do you determine what is high impact? Which one takes you closer to your goal? Start from there, and then begin to eat the elephant in the room. Okay, Lebari, we are slowly coming to an end. I have 2 more questions or 3. I'm going to try and jump at them quickly because I see that you are needed elsewhere so that you can get on with making sure you're not procrastinating too on your own task. Please, could you share, accountability often makes a difference in taking action. How can someone set up accountability in their life? We hear things like accountability partners or accountability metrics. Please, can you tell us in very simple terms how we can set up such that can check us and let us know when we are not on the action radar?
Yeah. Accountability is, I mean, it's, to me, it's fantastic. I personally use accountability to keep me motivated and to keep me accountable to myself. Because the first thing is the promise I make to myself. If I make a promise to myself and I don't keep it, I feel bad. And what I know for me helps me is when I share it. So this year in my community, we've gone through the process of setting goals to the 12 critical areas of our lives. One of those areas is health and fitness. And in each area, not the whole 12 areas, I've picked up the 5 most important areas to me this year that I want to focus on. Because another thing is we set all those goals and we're not able to meet all of them. But identifying the important ones and working on those ones helps us to keep in track and helps our mindset to for us not to feel guilty or feel like we're failures. So what I've done is for my health and fitness, I have an accountability partner. I make sure that I share that I have SMART goals. Then I share it with my accountability partner, who is a friend and who also is interested in health and fitness. So what I've done there is help her to see herself within my goals and how she can key into it. So now what has happened is it's a two-way street. We're holding each other accountable. When it comes to career, there are different parts of my career because I do different things. I also have accountability partners for the different things. One of my accountability partners in my career is my executive assistant. And she knows that she has the right to speak to me and ask me about task. She has my plan and we both have it and we see it so that I can be held accountable. So you can get a friend, you can get a mentor, you can get a coach to help you with accountability. Because if we're not held accountable, the truth be told, a lot of us will let it slide. You have nobody that is going to ask you. So it's either you have the self discipline to hold yourself accountable, or you create systems or situations where somebody holds you accountable. You can also get apps. There are apps that help you track projects on help you track your progress on projects. Or you can join accountability groups. So in one of my groups, which Ezinne and I belong to, I'm saying this earlier than time, I'm going to have a program where we're going to talk about our goals and smashing 2025. And I know I'm going to set up accountability groups because if we're not holding ourselves accountable and checking on each other, it's not to say things may happen. Accountability doesn't mean the person must do it. Sometimes life happens. How can you support that person, even though they're not achieving their goal at that time, to move on with life and then they can get back and achieve that goal? So it's accountability is very important. If you're not going to get somebody to do it with you, can you do it yourself? Do you trust yourself? Do you have the discipline?
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. So, everybody, you hear? I think it was Brian Tasty who said one is too small a number to achieve greatness. So it's always good to get two to go with you, or even more than two. Get accountability partners, people who hold you steady and hold you accountable to ensure that you achieve what you've set out to achieve. Okay. Moving on. Um, Can you please share simple everyday habits that help build momentum and discipline over time? Because you've told us that momentum is key and discipline is also very key. So let's focus on these two things. Could you give us share very simple everyday habits? I, for one, like copy and paste. And I think my sisters on the stream also like it. So just tell us something we can copy and recreate in our own lives.
Okay. I would tell you what I have practiced beyond
Mm-hmm,
what is in the books. So we
mm-hmm,
can all read up on this, read up on this, the habits and all that. And we all can't do all. So you have to choose the one that aligns with you, right?
mm-hmm,
I've talked about setting smart goals. Beyond smart goals, so there are times where we don't we set those goals but we don't achieve it. So
mm-hmm,
one thing I do regularly, sometimes once in 6 months, sometimes at the beginning, is checking with my values. So I do an exercise where I check my values. Because if your goals don't align with those values, you won't be driven to achieve them. So that's one thing I do when it comes to goals. They must align with my values. Another thing
mm-hmm.
I do a lot of visualization.
Mm,
You know, Abraham kept doubting God when God was telling him, "You'll be the father of many nations, you do this," until he saw a visual representation of
mm-hmm,
being a father of many children.
mm-hmm,
When God
mm-hmm,
showed him the stars in the sky, I
mm-hmm,
believe so much in visualization. I start
mm-hmm,
every day with visualization. If I
mm-hmm,
have a project, I visualize. I spend time to visualize what I want that project to be. How
mm-hmm,
do I want to feel?
mm-hmm.
What will I feel when I've achieved it? What would
Yeah.
I see? What will I smell? How will I, what will people be saying? What would they be
Mm-hmm,
doing?
mm-hmm,
Sometimes I get so deep into my visualization, and if it needs tears, as in I'm so happy I'm crying, the tears will actually come out. And
mm-hmm,
that drives me because when I visualize, it moves my subconscious into the conscious for me
mm-hmm,
to take action. So
mm-hmm,
every day, I start after prayers and all that, I start with a meditation. Then I visualize what my day would be.
mm-hmm,
I may not achieve it all, but I know that I will achieve most of it. So I
mm-hmm,
don't put myself down for the ones I don't achieve because
mm-hmm,
things happen, life happens, I'm blah. Then I reward myself every evening for completing what I want to do.
your task.
How do I reward myself? My gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm,
So I am grateful for everything I've achieved that day. When I
mm-hmm,
look back at it at the end of a week, I'm always amazed and impressed with myself. Most of the time, not always, you know. So I journal and then I reflect. I do a reflection every week end about my past week. What did I achieve? What
mm-hmm,
didn't I achieve? Why didn't I achieve it? Do I want to proceed? Is there anything else I want to do moving forward with what I didn't achieve? It was either Aristotle or Einstein that said, "An unreflected life is not worth living." So if you move through your life day in, day out, you're coming in, going out, very busy and all that, and you don't take a moment to reflect, you're just going to be going around like a tumble dryer, round and round in circles. So those are some simple things. And then when I have a difficult task to achieve, I set a timer. And it's one that I am not in the mood at all, but I need to do it. I set a 10-minute timer that I'm going to start it. Once I start it, I put the timer. 10 minutes will go. I assure you, 8 out of 10 times, when the timer goes off after 10 minutes, I put off the timer and I continue with the work because I've used that action to propel my momentum. And then there are other things I do. Sometimes when things are getting overwhelmed, there's so much going on. There's this matrix I use. You know, I draw up 4 squares, and at the top I put important. The second square at the top is not important. By the side, I put urgent and then not urgent. And then I write down everything I need to do. It can be sometimes the last week of a project when a lot of things are coming at you. I put down everything, the ones that are important and urgent, the ones that are not important but urgent, then the ones that are important but not urgent, and the ones that are not important and not urgent. So I know that I'm removing the ones that are not important and not urgent. The ones that are important and urgent, I'm doing them immediately. The ones that are important but not urgent, I can either put for later or I can delegate. So you have to keep checking in with yourself. What is going on? How am I feeling? What do I need to do? And you have to, for yourself, and you can achieve this through the help of somebody or a coach, develop your own systems and that work for you. Because one size doesn't fit all. So really, after this, you need to sit down and reflect on the things you've been procrastinating on. Why have you been procrastinating? Well, from what you've heard from here and from further research, what are the things you can do that can help you? Would it be an accountability partner? Would it be putting down those SMART goals? Would it be finding out your why and writing down your why? Write it down. When you see it, it makes an impact. When you take that action of writing it down, it registers in your brain, and your brain will help you to achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, I was going to say to you that you should please give us an advice after all that share that you gave to us, the simple things you wanted us to do. Um, Visualization. I can't even begin to talk about it. You see, it's another thing altogether. We need to, go and unpack it. Journaling, you talked about that. And then gratitude, you talked about that. These are things that almost all of us can do without even having to go looking for a coach or something.
Yeah.
It's also all about loving yourself. You see, when we talk about loving ourselves, we just think it's buying ourselves things and stuff like that. Developing yourself to become your better self is the biggest love flex you can have for yourself. You know, when you know that you are better than who you were yesterday and that you're constantly on the road to getting better and better until you get to that point where you can actually say, yes, I became and I am fulfilling my purpose. I'm working in purpose. So, and then of course, the last one she mentioned was reward yourself. And that doesn't mean you should go and buy Peruvian hair. You can reward yourself in ways that, also helps to build you up. Take out time, sit alone with yourself, read a good book, watch a good movie, enjoy it, reflect on your life, ask questions. She said, and it's true, an unexamined life, a life that you don't query, a life that you don't say, how am I doing? You won't even know whether you're growing or whether you're just stagnant or running around in circles. So it's important that you do all of this because you are the driver and you are the MVP. You need you to be able to get anything done. So you need to make sure that you're checking in with yourself, like she said, and she said a lot to us today. And I'm going to let her run off now by telling her to just address someone on this stream today who has clear goals. The person does have clear goals. This person understands a bit about their why and everything, but the person is also constantly procrastinating. What advice would you have for this person? And then from there, you can just give us any closing charge you have.
Okay, thank you. Oh, for this person, If you've done all this, you've set your SMART goals, you know your why, it aligns with your values, and you're still not motivated to do this, you need to dig deeper. You may need help
Her village
beyond.
people after her.
Those of us have no power. Don't mind them. They think they have power. They don't have any power. But it may be something that is buried deep in your subconscious that
Mhm,
is stopping you. So we need to bring it to light. There are very little traumas that can happen in childhood that
mhm,
are still affecting you today. I spoke about that woman who, because she grew up in a military zone kind of home,
mhm,
and now her husband tells her anything he tells her to do. I mean, if he's anxious and he says, please, I need you to do this, and she just sees her father again, and then she
mhm,
doesn't do it. She will do it
mhm.
eventually, but she will make sure she procrastinates, whether it's to show him that, at my own time, you're not the master of me, and all
I'm
that.
in
And all that
charge.
started, yeah, and all that started causing problems. So it comes from something in your subconscious that it needs to be unearthed so that we can deal with it. So you may need extra help. But with prayers, you can also try and go within yourself, because out of within comes without.
True.
Whatever is showing up for you today is from within.
Yeah.
So, my
Yeah.
dear, I think you need more help. And some, I have a procrastination test, and there are about 10 reasons. So from a simple test, you may be able to identify your reason. But if you're not able to identify it, then there are other therapies we would do to unearth it. And you said
Thank you.
my final word for everybody.
Yes, please.
Um, in terms of procrastination, just start every day with an intention.
Mm,
What's your plan for today? What's your intention for today? What's your word for today? How do you want to feel today? Which is why, for me, meditation, prayers, affirmations, and visualization. It can take 5 minutes, it can take 30 minutes, it can take 1 hour. But you just need that moment. And then during the days, another thing I do during the day is taking a sacred pause. In
mhm,
the
mhm.
midst of all that overwhelm, in the midst of all that is going on so much, I take a pause and sometimes just look out of my window. I may focus on a tree, I may focus on a plant, I may focus on anything, and just glorify God for that. That can be 1 minute, it can be 2 minutes. I don't know how long it takes, but as long as it takes. I know I'm not thinking of what I saw on social media. I'm not thinking, it's just a moment for me to just look and say, oh, look at all those trees. Right here, I'm seeing coconut trees, I'm seeing cashew tree, I'm seeing apple, I'm seeing plantain. I just look at all that. That's what a sacred pause is. It helps all the many thoughts, because there are over 50 million thoughts going around our heads per minute. It helps all of them to calm down. Just be calming down, all of you. All the thoughts be calming down. And then you go back to what you're doing. You can't remain doing, be at work for 2 hours, 1 hour, you're just going. You need a pause. And sometimes I just wake up, even in my office in Lagos, there is a concrete jungle. I just wake up, take a walk down the balcony and come back. When I'm in the farm here, I remove my shoes and walk barefoot on the grass. My staff thinks, okay, this woman is cuckoo, but it's okay. It's for me to help everything going around, my whole consciousness, my thoughts, everything to calm down and just align. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Even CNN takes the sacred pause. Because sometimes when you're watching, you see they just say the pause, and then they show you, visions of the ocean, the sky, the birds chirping, because they just want you to come back and be grounded, to breathe in and breathe out. Sometimes all we need is to actually inhale and exhale, and then we rebalance everything and then we push forward. Thank you so much, Lebari, for sharing your
Thank
wisdom and actionable insights with us today. It's been amazing. I can tell you that I will not look at procrastination the same way I started this show ever again. And I'm going to certainly call on you because there is more that you're going to have to do with us and keep teaching our community. Um, this is a learning platform, so to speak. And the idea here is to help women repair themselves by themselves. Everyone already knows that you're a superlative coach. So if you think you need the services of a coach, Lebari is right here. And please reach out to her. I'm going to put her handles out here. You can reach out to her via her handles, and then you'll be able to get the assistance that you require. But if you want to take baby steps one at a time, then please follow her on all social media, and so that you can be gleaning some things from her page as well, and then also from all of our pages and everything that we have shared. So to everyone on this stream, everyone listening, everyone who will come after, procrastination doesn't have to hold you back. Take that first step, even if it is a small one. The key is to start. And like Lebari said, start with intention every day. And if you remember my opening remark, you don't have to be great to start. You just have to be start. You just have to start to be great. So don't let procrastination hold you back anymore. There is nobody who started a thing and that thing was excellent the first time they did it. So you start, then you keep going, then you keep going, you keep honing it, and then one day you become the expert. Practice is what makes you an expert. And then you will no longer be procrastinating, hopefully. Remember this. Very, very important. Procrastination is the grave in which opportunity is buried. Don't wait any longer. Godot hasn't come ever since people have been waiting for it. Don't wait any longer. Please act now. Action is the only thing that changes things. Woman, act now. If you haven't seen that series, please go to YouTube and watch it. Woman, act now. Okay? Now, thank you. This year, we started a new segment called the Goal Getter Stories. Each week, we feature a listener who is overcoming challenges and smashing their goals. Today, I share the story from Ifoma. Ifoma used the 5-minute rule that we shared on this program in the second week of January, and she started a business that she has been procrastinating on for years. Her business is 2 weeks old, but she started it. So, what are we talking about? We're saying to you, be like Ifoma, do that thing you've been putting off today. Remember that thing you wrote about? When I asked you in the beginning that you should write one thing you've been procrastinating on, please pull it out now and begin to break it into smaller things. What should I do first? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to be on this project? How can I get this off this paper and into the action lane? Make sure that's what you're going to do with the rest of your day today. If you have a story to share, please send it to us on social media with the hashtag UPU with Ezinne, and we might feature you in our next episode. Remember, your challenge this week is simple. Pick a task that you've been putting off and use the strategies that Lebari taught us today and see whether you can take action, no matter how small. If you do take any action, it means that what Lebari taught us are actionable things, things you can do. Then you now have to do what? Increase your momentum, do it more and more. And then before you know it, you're going to come back with a story to us and say, after listening to you that day, I took off. And that will be our greatest joy and the reason why we do what we do. Don't forget to join us next week as we discuss mastering discipline. Yes, next week we're going to have a guest come, and that guest is going to speak to us on mastering discipline. That is not easy, to do one thing in and out, in season and out of season, whether you feel like or you don't feel like. But because you know that this one thing gets you to point M, from point A, you stay the course. Okay? So, and make sure you tune in, tell everybody discipline is the key to sustained success. We all want to be successful. And because we want to be successful, we all need to be disciplined, and we all have to stop procrastinating. So, my dear women, this is Ezinne reminding you the action cures procrastination, and every small step you take is progress. Honestly, every small step you take is progress. Until we come your way next time, keep rising and thriving. See you next week on Up You with Ezinne. From Lebari and myself is Up You. Yeah, we say Up You.
Up you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Share the stream. Share the stream, and I'll put out Lebari's details shortly. Thank you very much. God
Ezinne,
bless you.